Each year, more studies are being conducted and published, informing us that insect populations continue to drop worldwide. One of the latest is a volume of studies from the National Academy of Sciences in the US. The statistics are alarming, verifying that while impacts vary from country to country, this is a worldwide problem. There is a global biodiversity crisis facing pollinators, including bees, butterflies, and other insects. Pollinators are necessary for many of the crops we grow for human consumption. According to the National Biodiversity Data Centre, in Europe, 84% of the most important 264 crops are animal and insect pollinated. Insects provide food for other species, such as birds. The pollinating services of insects are necessary for many flowering plants to produce, and as these plants are then used by myriad other organisms, their decline can have a cascading ecological effect that may collectively cause biodiversity loss. In Ireland, 30% of bee species are endangered. Why is this happening and what is causing it? Insects face multiple overlapping threats in our modern world, including climate change, the destruction of wild habitats, the industrialization of farming, the monoculture of modern agriculture, light pollution, and the widespread spraying of chemicals, including herbicides and pesticides. Nature is under siege, and most biologists agree that the world has entered its sixth mass extinction event, unique because it is caused by humans. Today, we're going to concentrate on spraying, and while this isn't the sole reason for the endangerment of insects, it is undoubtedly a contributing cause. Much of the chemical use in urban and country areas is unwarranted. Glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, is the most used pesticide on the planet. It is widely used in agriculture, on public land, and in private homes. Numerous independent studies show that it is toxic to bees. It impacts pollinators' gut health, their navigating abilities, and the growth of bee larvae. It has toxic impacts on aquatic life, and the International Agency for Research on Cancer of the World Health Organization classed glyphosate as a group 2A, probably carcinogenic to humans. Recently, there have been a growing number of court settlements in relation to glyphosate and human health. So why are chemicals being used in the first place? Chemicals are used to treat invasive species of plants, such as, for example, Japanese knotweed. Japanese knotweed affects ecosystems by crowding out native vegetation and limiting plant and animal species diversity. It grows and spreads rapidly. Chemical treatment seems at the moment to be the only known effective way to control it. However, the chemicals used to treat Japanese knotweed are also being used to keep hedges and ditches clear of vegetation, to keep lawns free of plants like daisies, buttercups, dandelions, nettles, plantain, speedwell, cleaver, and so many more. All these plants, however, are an important food source for insects. Chemicals are being used to keep curbsides tidy, the base of trees neat, pavements clear, to control nature, and in doing so, they are threatening the very survival of nature. So, what can we do? Firstly, stop the unnecessary use of chemicals such as Roundup in our own gardens, and demand that the local authorities stop all unnecessary spraying in public places. Stop contributing to ecocide. Let our lawns grow. Don't mow them as frequently. Let's welcome dandelions into our gardens and consider how lucky we are to have such an amazing plant inhabit our environment. Dandelion is a wonder plant. It not only provides food for insects, it is a plant of benefit medicinally to the human body. All of it can be harvested, its flowers, leaves, and root. Our ancestors, of course, would have known this. Instead of disappearing the natural wonder of nature in our gardens and public places, Let us begin to observe how many species arrive if we give them a chance. Each has a use. Each is part of the web of life. Each has its own insects that are partial to it. So much of this is about perception. If you want a managed look, you can use your lawnmower in such a way that you leave a swathe you can leave a swathe of cut grass through all the remainder of your grass. And that way the wild areas look intentional. There is a great joy in observing what comes up over time. Seeds remain dormant in the ground until the conditions are safe. And if we continue a practice of wilding, instead of manicuring our lawns, we will possibly see new species peeping up every year. This type of wilding usually is assisted with 2 cuts a year, one in the springtime and one in the autumn time. So you cut the entire meadow. And after cutting the grass, it's best to rake it up and compost it, as wildflowers that may be dormant in the soil prefer a soil that is less rich and less fertilized. In public places, the local authorities are contracting companies to spray roadsides, public greens, and around the base of trees in some public parks. The results are aesthetically ugly, and they cause much upset to those using the park who are informed about the harmful effect these chemicals have on nature and indeed human health. Spraying is considered arguably easier than cutting the vegetation at the base of trees or along the edges. It is possibly less labour intensive. But why cut the vegetation at the base of trees in the first place? Why not have a design that allows the grass to grow at the base of trees? Here is an example from Park Owen, where swathes of grass link one tree to another, and it looks lovely. It looks intentional. It protects species of insect that reside at the base of trees, and it means that the tree isn't getting a dose of chemicals every year. And there is no problem leaving grass grow around mature trees. Young trees recently planted can be cleared of grass around their base to give them an opportunity to access all the goodness of the soil without competition with the grass, and to access the light without being crowded out. It takes very little time to pull the grass out or cut it with a grass scissors or with shears. To cut around a young tree or any tree with a lawnmower risks cutting the tree itself. Similarly, strimmers can very easily, when used near a young tree, nick the base of that tree, causing permanent damage. In fact, using strimmers around any size tree is not recommended for this reason. The above solution is the best outcome for tree and for nature. However, another option is to surround the base of the tree with something like bark mulch. This will suppress the grass growth. And you could also consider planting in bulbs of crocuses, snowdrops, or anemones. Make sure the varieties are good for pollinating insects. Usually these are perennial and you won't have to keep replanting. Along the borders, verges can be cut with motorised edgers, or manually with edging shears, or with grass scissors. Yes, it takes more time than spraying because you have to collect the cut grass, but consider that it needn't be cut so frequently. Why not allow vegetation peep out over the curb? Maybe this is also an opportunity to grow something low along the curb edges that requires less maintenance and that also provides food for nature. Along roadsides where there are islands, and also just along roads, at the edge of roads, why not leave the grass grow longer? This is already being done in parts of the city to great effect, and in high summer it looks lovely. What looks terrible is a burnt, sprayed vegetation. Taking traffic safety into consideration, much rewilding can be done in Cork City, and we commend the council where they have carried this out. Most cities across Ireland have signed up to the All Ireland Pollinating Plan, but we can't accept the anomaly of a city embracing a pollinating plan on the one hand and spraying public parks and roadsides on the other. This is tantamount to greenwashing. Housing estates, depending on their size, may pay a contractor to come in and maintain greens. All too often, their services include spraying toxic chemicals around the base of trees and at the curbsides. If we want this practice stopped, we have to contact the Residents Association and voice our concern. It could be that the community have to get together to find a solution. Young children could be encouraged to a community planting afternoon to plant bulbs under trees. Adults and older children could cut the grass at the curbside together. The activity might raise awareness about local biodiversity by bringing the community together in a fun and social event. All sorts of positive things can happen from such an initiative. Sometimes we have to be brave to get such a thing off the ground, particularly if we don't know our neighbours or if we meet with objections or indifference. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to justify the use of chemicals in this war against nature. The general public are beginning to demand change. We are living at a time of biodiversity crisis. We have to try to overcome our fears about speaking out. Nature needs us at this hour to be brave and to take action. Thank you for listening. And if you want to contact us, you can email greenspacescork@gmail.com or shepearthaware@gmail.com. Thank you.